Hello, my name is Gisela Pink, and I'm here with my co-host Julia Lisk. Welcome to Intimate Leadership.
Thank you for listening. Please support us by subscribing to our Intimate Leadership channel using the link below. This episode is brought to you by Transformation Space. More about that later.
I want to welcome Seánna Holland. Thank you for being here today. It's a very special thing for me because there are many layers that I've discovered we share, and I love to explore that with you today. But first of all, let's start by hearing a little bit about you, okay?
Hi G, good to be here. Hi Seánna.
Hello.
Seánna is a dynamic leader and entrepreneur with a diverse career history. She is the co-founder and business development director of the Pack Smart Group, a company based in Coventry. Originally from Northern Ireland, Seánna now lives in Kenilworth with her husband. Her leadership extends beyond her business. Seánna served as vice chair and later chair of the Kenilworth Chamber of Trade over a 6-year period. In these voluntary roles, she worked with the committee to establish the Worthies Awards, celebrating businesses and organisations that contribute to the local community. Before her success in logistics, Seánna enjoyed a 10-year career as a professional actress performing in theatre and touring productions across the UK and Argentina. Alongside her professional achievements, she is a part-time fitness instructor teaching spin, boxing, circuits and HIIT classes, which she finds essential for maintaining her well-being. Seánna is also an avid runner, finding solace and mental clarity in the activity. Her varied experiences highlight her adaptability, passion for community and commitment to excellence in all she undertakes. Great to see you, Seánna. Over to you, G.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a mouthful.
Sounds quite a lot once you get it read out loud, doesn't it?
Yeah. Multifaceted.
So from all the places you can go touring as an actress, you went to Argentina.
Yes.
You know that I was born in Argentina, and when I saw that, I was just immediately fascinated. But I was thinking as I was driving here, how did we meet? And I believe we got introduced in an event that the chamber was doing.
Yes.
And we were both speaking at that event.
Yeah, that's correct.
Did we meet before?
I'm not sure. I think I've seen you across LinkedIn, so I've been aware of your profile before, but I don't think we've actually physically met in person. Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Well, it's great to have you here and explore together more about you.
Thank you.
No, life is a journey, and our journey is not linear
No.
in my experience. So as I said, I was born in Argentina, and I was fascinated by your story about being an actress in Argentina. Would you briefly share with us what that experience was about, and how did you end up in my hometown?
Yes, it's a long way from really, isn't it? But I worked professionally as an actress for about 10 years, as Julia's kindly commented. And that involved a lot of schools touring, a lot of children's shows and theatre productions. But I worked with a company who were based in Warwick for a number of years, and we used to take plays into schools across the UK, performing history-based productions. So it might be the Romans or the Greeks or things like that. And then one day, out of the blue, we got a call in the office from a company in Argentina who wanted to bring a UK company across to perform plays in English for the children to be able to experience seeing something in English and help them with their learning of the language. So what was just an off-the-cuff conversation then snowballed. The company in total was there for 6.5 months. I was there for 3 months out of that period. And it was just an amazing opportunity. It was somewhere I never had dreamt in my life I was going to end up going to visit, let alone living there and sort of embracing the lifestyle.
Yes.
It was before the kind of economic collapse in Argentina, so we probably
Which
saw
one?
it. Well, the one which is over 20 plus years ago.
Yes.
Yes, I know it's had turmoil, hasn't it? But the people were so wonderful, the food is fabulous, and just being able to live in that culture was incredible for a short period of time. And
Yes,
I do still
indeed.
look back at it and think, wow, did that really happen to me? Was it a dream?
Did you make friends? Local friends?
We didn't so much. With the company that ran or had brought us out there, we got very close to them. So there were 5 of them who looked after us regularly, and we used to socialise with them, and they did things like they took us to go to football matches, and they took us out and about, so we could really see the culture properly. Yeah. We went to a fantastic tango bar in La Boca, so it was really experiencing it and seeing it properly. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
And then life moved forward, and tell us a little bit about what happened after that.
So acting is a tough career.
Yeah.
There is no two ways about it. I used to get a period, it may be a sort of short-term contract, and I'd go and do that for a period, and then every time I would come back, I'd also done the whole go and live in London thing, because I thought that's what you needed to do as an actress.
It's a cool thing to do. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's also hard, because when you are in between jobs, it's what do you do? So I temped a lot. I have done goodness knows how many temp jobs over the years. But eventually I got in with this company in Warwick, but every time I would come back in between tours or in between jobs, I found there was a company based in Leamington Spa who they use data entry people, and I always used to be lucky in getting back into work with them, no matter how short or long a time I was back for. And in the good old days when we bought CDs, there used to be a card in them that said, if you want to know more about this band, please write to, and it was an address, Trinity Street in Leamington Spa. Some people may well remember that. And that was what we did. We just data captured. Long story short, one day I turned back up, and the company had been bought, and there were new owners behind it. And rather than just being data capture, they were starting to branch into merchandising. They wanted to expand into ticketing. And the gentleman that had bought the company sort of spoke to me quite a lot. I saw my skills and my customer skills and a lot of what I had developed over the years. So we set up a very small customer service team, which I headed up. And then it grew. The business grew quite considerably. Yeah. We did the ticketing for Robbie Williams' World Tour.
Fabulous.
We did Live 8. We did the ticketing for that. So it was a real journey. And there was part of me that thought, am I ever going to get back to acting? And he'd had the conversation with me. He said, look, if Spielberg calls, I've got no problem. You can walk out that door tomorrow. But otherwise, I would really like you to be part of this team. Yeah. So,
and you are.
Yeah.
And you're part of an amazing company.
Well, this was the company before the one I now started. So what happened was that was really successful for a good period of time, and then they sought investment, and the long and the short is that the investment company assets stripped them and ran them into the ground. Wow. So myself and the operations director at the time, Nick Walker, who is now my business partner, we were retained by the administrators to see what we would do. And we came up with the idea that we could do it ourselves with a slightly different business model. We had the skill and the experience, and we also knew the pitfalls that we wouldn't go down. So that was where the Packsmart Group was born from.
No, oh wow. I think that that resilience from being an actress really played to your benefit, because it does take a lot of courage to start a new business.
Yeah, and it was something I'd never done.
And in an area, yeah, exactly. In an area, being in the logistics business is just new.
It is, and I think skills. We both had the business. Nick was very much operational, and that's where his head and his passion still lies. I was much more customer focused, so initially I dealt with all of the customer service and the customer relations. And what my passion is talking to people, and actually now my role is sales. So I'm the business development director. I do all of the going out there, winning new business, forming those relationships. We work very, very closely with our clients, and I think that's something that we have worked hard to foster over the years. And the resilience, as you've said, is something we've had to combat regularly. We've been trading for 15 years, and over the 15 years it's been a roller coaster.
And it's a pleasure to see you. I mean, I follow you obviously on social media, and it's a pleasure to see you having little videos going out about yourself. So you do expose yourself, you do bring yourself forward into a new conversation, and it's very appealing, it's very authentic.
Thank you.
And inside that authenticity, I know what it is like to be a woman in business, and that there's a lot happening that nobody sees.
Yes.
What people see is your success.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what we show, you know. What really happens is behind private doors.
Yeah.
And if you allow me, I'd like to ask some questions about that, because again, the three of us share some moments that are very unique, and I hope you allow me to share as well.
Challenging, I would say.
Yeah.
It's character building. It's rewarding in a sense, but it is tough.
So what is it that I'm talking about? So tell us a little bit about what happened during COVID. That COVID was a tremendous time for all of us, but let's start there.
Yeah, so COVID for the business was incredible. We were so busy, as you can
I can
imagine. Online
imagine.
retail went crazy. But in the background of that, my husband and I were going through a period where we were actually starting IVF, which was a journey that you never expect to have to go on.
No.
And I think it's something not a lot of people know that we did. We've kept it quite private because it is a personal matter. But for me, it's also felt like it was important to mention it because since we've been through that journey, which sadly was unsuccessful and we didn't get to where we wanted to, a lot of people have mentioned to me that maybe have since found out or have said to me in passing, oh, you don't have children. And I think it's that I just want to sort of explain to people is think about what the background might be, because that can be hard.
Absolutely,
to hear.
Absolutely. I had 2 miscarriages, and I know how painful they were and how emotionally draining.
Yeah.
And it does take something to stand up from there.
Yeah.
But going through IVF, I went through IVF as well, and I think the 3 of us went through IVF. And I'm interested in hearing what was the experience like for you, because in my head, there are 3 possible outcomes in IVF. One is the egg gets fertilized. One is there is no egg fertilized. Or the third one is the egg is fertilized, but it has problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. And truly, you just need one egg to work. And in my case, it became my son. And I'm delighted about that. But in many cases, in millions of women around the world, that's not the case. And there's a lot of tension and at the same time emotion that goes in that journey. And for someone that is listening out there that has never gone through IVF, just what is it like?
It is tough, and you have to be prepared for that roller coaster of emotions. It's physically demanding, so I am physically fit. I regularly work out. I do a lot of classes, but even that, and I was older, which obviously will have an impact. But you have to do daily injections. Your hormones are changing. Your body is not feeling the way that it should do. Because it was during COVID, my husband wasn't able to attend any of the appointments with me, which made it a very lonely process. He was incredible, so supportive. I was running the business at the same time, and you're putting a brave face on to everybody because very few people knew we were doing it. COVID obviously threw the extra thing up that we had to be careful. We had to be really, really careful that we didn't come in contact with it, because that would have stopped the treatment cycle immediately. So even when you were going back to the hospital for the various stages, you were having to do COVID tests to check that you were allowed to go into the hospital for the next steps. So we almost had to just shut ourselves off into a bubble during that time, and run a business and. But I think the one thing I will say to people that are going through it is you need to be prepared that it won't be easy. There will be challenges. The classically dubbed 2-week wait, if you've been successful enough to have eggs reimplanted, it feels like an eternity. It feels like the longest period of time ever. But equally, I do think it is important to talk to people about it and let people that you're comfortable into your network know, because they can then support you, whether it's good news or bad news. And we did have a close group of friends that we shared with, and they experienced the highs and the lows.
And this is the kind of conversation we bring to Intimate Leadership.
Yeah.
We want to hear what's really happening behind the mask, because you're an incredible leader. I admire your courage when I see you out there presenting or showing what you do, and with so much flair and excitement and always a smile, and to understand and to know that all this is happening in the background and nobody knows about it, makes you look even stronger.
Thank you.
And I admire you for that. I know for Julia this was a difficult time as well. Do you want to share a little bit about it?
A little bit. I mean, as Sean has intimated, it's still painful. I mean, my son's 18, so my journey started over 20 years ago. We had 9 treatments. So again, physically, emotionally, financially, you're just completely spent.
Yeah,
that's another matter, is the financial involvement with this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're lucky in the UK and the NHS. If you're the right age, you will get treatment.
Well,
That's right.
we got the first one free.
No, we were too old, sadly, so we didn't qualify for anything free. But
it's something that if you want something enough, you'll put up with anything, and it does test you, your character, your mentality, your relationship.
That's another one. The impact, the success or the failure of the result has on the relationship and the relationship with yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, ultimately.
Yeah, and I think that's a really valid point, actually, because I think we talked a little bit before when we were arranging this call about imposter syndrome and the fact that we all feel that we're putting a mask on and we're turning up and we're thinking, do we really know what's going on and what we're doing?
We don't. That's the truth. We don't.
We don't. But the fear of...
Unlock your leadership potential with Transformation Space. Get an exclusive deal on our behaviour report with a personalised coaching session. Discover your strengths, understand your unique behaviours and learn strategies to excel. Normally £150, now just £75 for listeners. Don't miss out. Transform your leadership journey today. Contact Afshan at transformationspace.co.uk.
Failure, I think, is something that has always been there for me. And what I've learned over the years is actually, if I'm going to fail quickly and move on and learn from it. And that's something I really try and instill with my team and my staff, because we will all fail. And IVF is sadly a case where people do it over and over and over again, and it becomes wearing. We made a call after the 3rd round because actually I was that much older that it wasn't going to be successful for us. But the failure thing, I think, is something that we're all aware of, and we all have sat on. It's almost like you've got this little pixie on the shoulder saying to you, you're going to fail. But if you are, then you accept it, but you take the learnings from it and you move forward and you say, okay, well, what did that do for me? How has that made me stronger or more resilient? And it's not just that. I've touched on the fact that obviously I lost my mum to cancer, which affected me massively as well. So I have had a lot of loss along the way, but I have the most incredible husband who is so supportive.
And that is so amazing.
And he really supports me every step of the way. So and good friends as well. Really, really strong community of friends around me, and a very, very loving family back in Northern Ireland. So you take
and you're
the positives.
very respected. As a business leader, you're very respected in the environment as well, which is something you have created.
Thank you.
Now, what role has all this sport had in overcoming that fear of failure? Or, it's when I do karate, and when I heard that you did kickboxing, it made me laugh, because I thought, that's you kick the S out of it. So how do you get rid of that fear is by kicking really hard.
Yeah, I think it's a really good release.
So tell us a little bit about that.
At school, I was always very sporty. I used to run regularly for school and the county and things like that. And then as I got older, I fell out of exercise, if I'm honest, for a number of years. And then it was an actress that was working with us with the theatre company. She had come across a group class at the bottom of Leamington, which was a boxing class, and she said, "Oh, come along, try it." So I went, and I just got bitten by it. I completely realised what I had been missing for a number of years. I then qualified to become an instructor off the kind of back of an instructor that was there pushing and saying, "Oh, you'd be really good at this." So I've been teaching 20 plus years now, and I love it because it's lovely to be able to give back and see how people are improving. I love it because it keeps my fitness levels up.
Sure.
It's a great headspace release. So whilst the classes kind of combine all of that, the running is the thing that I love to do for me. It's interesting actually, because after my mum died, I struggled to run for quite a long time because it was too much headspace. Then I got to a point where it was like, no, those trainers are going back on, and I'm back out through the countryside with music or sometimes not, just breathing that air and taking that time.
A bit of a Forrest Gump moment where you just need to run.
You do.
You run until it's time to stop.
Exactly. And there'll be days I'll go out and I don't know where my feet are going to take me.
Yeah.
And suddenly I end up somewhere and I'm like, oh, how did I get here? And you've just been lost in your own world.
Yeah.
But I love both aspects of it. People say to me, "You're running your own business. Why are you still teaching these classes?"
Why not?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I get the best of both worlds because I don't have to pay to go to a gym. I get to be mean and horrible to people and enjoy it.
So could it be that, when you're doing your classes, you're actually performing, therefore you're going back to your first love?
I think that's exactly it. Yeah. And that's
and you're
probably
performing,
where I've come to.
and so you're sharing your passion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. It allows me to get up there.
And you're kicking as well.
I'm kicking as well. And what will make you laugh is that if you ask any of the people that come to my classes regularly, they know that I don't take much excuse to get dressed up. So if it's Christmas, I'll be in Santa costumes. If it's Halloween, I'll be dressed as a witch. If it's Easter, the Easter bunny comes out. So it's a bit of fun as well, but that probably plays on the acting, getting involved and getting dressed up for it. So.
Well, I was teaching a class, a karate class last night. And as I was teaching, I was reflecting on why is it that I'm teaching a karate class. And of course, I love karate, and I love doing it in the club I'm doing it. It's very rewarding as an instructor to do that. But there's also the self-development. There's always the different layer that you peel to discover yourself inside that. Because it doesn't come naturally. I don't look like Mr. Miyagi. And
you haven't got the mustache, no.
And I'm not the Karate Kid style. But there's something that draws me into it, and I celebrate every moment. Karate has become my life. Would you say that there's a big part of your life that is taken by participating in this?
Definitely. It's very interesting. So we have a business coach, and we've used our business coach since before COVID. And when COVID hit, I was getting really aggravated and short-tempered, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was that was causing me these problems. And I was on a call with him this one afternoon, and he said to me, "Seánna, the penny hasn't dropped, has it?" And I just said, "What?" And he said, "It's because you're not exercising and teaching classes, so you're not getting that release that you normally get." And you're absolutely right. It releases so many endorphins for you. And it's just such a wonderful feeling when you're in that environment and you're seeing that people are having fun, working hard, and you're also working hard with them.
Yeah, I always make this just joke that when I come into a karate class, it's the only environment where I can punch, kick, shout, and people go and say, "Oh, well done."
Yes. Or people come and say thank you at the end.
Thank you. Thank you for hitting me.
It always makes me laugh at the end of my classes. They're sweating, they're exhausted, but they walk out the door and they're like, "Oh, thank you, I really enjoyed it." And you're just thinking it's funny. And no matter how mean I am, how nasty, how hard I push them, they keep coming back for more. So there's something there.
So I'm also interested about something else. I have in my head, I'm entertaining at the moment a conversation about what our relationship's about. And you mentioned over and over that you have an amazing relationship with your husband and your partner. What do you think is the base for that? Because they're different relationships, but still they're very strong for you.
Yeah, they are very strong. And I think something which ironically takes me way, way back to before we got married. I grew up as Catholic. I was educated as Catholic, and I wanted to get married in a Catholic church. And because my husband was Church of England, we had to attend sort of pre-marriage classes. Is probably the best description for it.
We did it as well.
Yeah. And one of the overwhelming pieces of advice that we were given right at the start there was always see the humour in things. And I think that is what has got us through some very, very dark, some very, very tough times, is he will always know how to make me laugh. And even if we've had a row and I'm trying my best to be cross with him, all he has to do is play a silly face or do something like that, and you will come out the other side laughing. And I think that is something that's been really strong for us always. We love to travel, we enjoy doing that, so that's something that's really passionate for both of us. We just are very content in each other's company, and I think as you get older you realise how important that is too. So you could sit on the sofa for an entire afternoon, not say a word, but just feel comfortable that you're there together. And I think there's a lot of those things. I mean, yes, we've had tough times, we'd have ups and downs. My husband's father passed away at the start of this year, so that's been a real challenge for him.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
I obviously knew exactly
I think it is
where
important
he was at,
to
because
be
I've
seen
been
with
through
each
the
other
same several
and
years
be
back, honest and open with each other. We in COVID, we started regularly walking together, which before, when my teaching pattern was a little bit too much and too intense, we almost didn't see a lot of each other in the evenings. Now we still go for that walk, whether it's cold, windy, rainy. And they've always said, haven't they, if you're walking side by somebody rather than face to face, you find that you do talk about a lot more. And we talk about all sorts, so we are really open and honest with each other, and I think that has been something that we've had to work hard to ensure we continue to keep the relationship as strong as it is.
And what about the business, your business partner?
So it's funny because there have been many events we've been out at or networking, and people just assume that we're married because it's a male and a female, and people have got to know us through the social media presence, and they just assume that we are. Nick and I, we work extremely well together, even though we're both Librans, which was a challenge in the early days because we would both try and weigh up everything before we made a decision. And then it sort of became that one of us would take the dominant stance and say, okay, I think we should do this, and then we'd both weigh it all up again. But we work really, really well. I think something that we found since using the business coach is we had been trying to do too many roles, both of us, so we separated that very, very clearly. Nick now is CEO of the business. He has Jack, who is our operations director. Jack started with us when he was 16, and he's worked his way through the business over 10 years to work up to operations director. So he's just been...
Well done, Jack.
Oh, he's been an amazing success story for us. But that is through a lot of Nick's mentorship. So Nick has really guided him, and now Nick can take that step back and focus on overseeing how the business runs day to day.
Picture.
Yeah, the big picture. I've just taken a big step back now from the customer experience team. So they operate mostly on their own. Nick does dip in to oversee if there's challenges with that. I've still got the relationship with some of our very key clients, and obviously now I'm more focused on getting out there and winning the new business, and that's the bit I love. So where we are now is we're both doing the roles of the business we really enjoy, and it continues to feel exciting, and we're both passionate about it. And when I get on the phone to somebody new and I'm talking about who we are and what we do, I believe that comes across.
I think that what I hear from what you say is just being proud of each other as well.
Yeah, we do, and we make a point of not only celebrating our successes but the team's successes. We've recently put big screens up all across the business so that if we get feedback from a client that's saying well done, that straight away goes up there, because sometimes the team feel that they don't hear the end result.
Sure. They just do work.
Yeah, and they all work really hard, and we wouldn't be where we are today without them.
Yeah.
And I think Nick and I realise that we need to recognise that, and we recognise each other as well. So we communicate every single day, whether we're in the office together or whether we're on a call with each other. But every detail of the business we make sure we know, and as we continue to grow, I guess there will be elements that we both have to sort of accept. Yep, that goes on without us. But I think the big thing for me as well was that in the summer, for the first time ever, I took a 2-week holiday and didn't check my emails once, which was a massive game changer, because I've got such confidence in the team that are doing the day-to-day. So why should I be bothered when I'm on holiday?
Am I right to say, to sum it up, you believe in respect, you believe in straight communication?
Absolutely.
And trust?
Yes, trust is very, very important.
Yeah.
I've had issues in the past with staff members who have let us down, and it took us a little while to get over that, but the team we have now, we trust implicitly, and I think trust is something that everybody needs in their lives, whether it's from me building a relationship with a potential client through to the packer down on the shop floor and us knowing that they will get that parcel out in exactly the way that the customer expects to receive it. That there's that level right the way through the business, but communication is very important, and being honest, I think, as well. We need to, if somebody makes a mistake, put their hand up and say, I've done this, fine, let's figure out why it happened, what we need to do to move on, and how do we stop it happening again. It's not about pointing
So I'm going to change the subject from the businesswoman, because I know you are a success, and I know that the business has a great future. I mean, logistics is at the forefront of what's going to be required in the future.
Yeah.
But how do you want to age?
Disgracefully. I love having fun, and I enjoy spending time with friends and going out and letting my hair down, and I love dancing. I just love laughing. I think that probably comes across from what I've said with my relationship with my husband. We have a very, very close friendship group, so he's still very good friends with some of his university crowd, and we see each other regularly. We're all together at the weekend. I've then got separate sets of friends that he is now intermingled with, but the thing for us is it's going out and having fun, and no matter what happens, I think that's really important, because we don't know what's around the corner. We don't know what might stop us from doing it. So whilst I'm fit and healthy enough, I want to travel, I want to have fun, I want to let my hair down, and I don't want to feel like I'm going to be somebody that's old and doddery and can't do things. So fitness is important for me, because I kind of see that to keep doing stuff that I want to do, I need to keep up a level of fitness, and just enjoy every moment that gets thrown at us.
Live for today, don't put anything off.
Yeah, very much so.
Because if you put it off till you retire, you find you can't do it.
Yeah, and sadly that was what happened to my mum. She took retirement and then was diagnosed with cancer. So it makes you go
retired.
Yeah, it makes you think, no, we've got to enjoy today.
So normally in a job interview, the one question they throw in that I really don't understand why, but there we go, is how do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? Yeah, I love that. So the world is not going to be the same in 5 and 10 years. So whatever we're doing today, it's going to be completely irrelevant to what's going to happen in a decade. But how do you see the world in a decade?
I would like to see a slightly calmer world. The last few years have been concerning. When we watch the news and we see things that are happening and changing, and the rumours about World War III, and it's terrifying, which is why I think we just need to be kind, think, what can I do every day that makes life a little bit easier for somebody? Look out for people around us that may be struggling, and what can we do to support them? Be there as a listening ear. I can't change things on a grand scale, but I can in my world. And if there's somebody out there that needs help, needs support, and that's something I kind of put across right from when I worked with the Chamber through to what I do today with friends, business colleagues, anybody. If somebody needs advice, ask, because I've possibly experienced it. If I haven't, I might know people that have. And advice is free. You shouldn't feel that you can't ask a question because there's going to be a caveat at the end of it. That's not how I operate. I love collaborating with people. I love listening to challenges they've been through, and what can we do if each of us puts that little piece together, supports each other a bit more. Will the world that we live in become a better and a calmer place in the next 10 years because we've all tried that bit harder?
The fabulous thing is, everybody gives advice and you can take it, but you actually only action what's right for you.
Yes.
But that person is then educated enough to make the decision that's right for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fabulous.
Yeah.
And, you also need to consider the greater good. So how do your actions impact the world?
Yeah.
And I think that we all have that need to make a difference, because life is about making a difference and being of service to others.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, I want to thank you for being of service to our listeners. I know that many women are going to listen to this podcast and think, blimey, I know that IVF is a journey, and having that courage to do it, to not have a successful result, but keep creating my life and keep creating myself for the greater good. It's a massive difference. So on that note, I really thank you for your intervention and participating with us. It's always an unscripted conversation, and I am happy that you got seen.
Thank you. No, it's been lovely.
And it's a privilege to hear your story, because you are multifaceted. It's wonderful.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Good. Do you feel looked after?
I do. Yes, very much so.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to our listeners for continuing supporting us and looking after the women behind the mask, which is what Intimate Leadership stands for.
We want to thank Transformation Space for their support today.
And that is the power of intimate leadership. Thank you for listening.